The Post.
This is the Pulse of the Eastern Townships broadcast, and I am William Crooks. Today on the show, two stories about building the future and protecting the past here in the Eastern Townships. First, a major investment in the region's workforce. The Townshippers Association has officially launched a new $6.8 million federally funded employment initiative called GUIDE, aimed at strengthening job access and economic opportunity for English speakers across the townships. With strong early demand and a goal of serving 1,800 people over the next 5 years, the program marks what organizers describe as a profound shift towards direct service delivery. Then we head to Bromont, once West Shefford, where a long-buried piece of Loyalist history is being brought back into the light. After years of volunteer research and persistence, local historians have helped secure provincial funding for an archaeological assessment of Captain John Savage's original homestead, with plans to publicly unveil the site on 2026. From workforce development to heritage preservation, these are stories about community momentum and the people shaping this region in very different ways. Here are the stories. This is CJMQ 88.9 FM, and I'm William Crooks. This report was produced with the support of the Local Journalism Initiative. The Townshippers Association has officially launched a major new employment initiative aimed at strengthening opportunities for the Eastern Townships English-speaking community. The program, called GUIDE, was unveiled February 20th at the QG de l'Entrepreneuriat in Sherbrooke, with several political representatives in attendance, including PLQ leader Charles Milliard, Compton-Stansted MP Marianne Dandurand, and Anna Gainey, Secretary of State for Children and Youth. Backed by $6.8 million in federal funding over 5 years, the initiative is designed to improve access to job training, skills development, and employer connections for English speakers in the region, who are considered an official language minority community in Quebec. Townshippers Executive Director Dennis Consoros says the program marks a significant shift in how the organization delivers services. Here's more.
Okay, great. So what would you say is the significance of this new initiative?
So this program is that was applied for and we were successful in getting is actually a profound change for the townshippers. In the past, we worked on a position that we worked at from a position of offering services through community organization. Now we're offering services directly to the community. It puts us in a very profound different position than what the townshippers was.
Right.
And that's more to the point of we're collecting all this money. We have to deliver those services directly. We can't be an intermediate because that just kind of bleeds money off of the system.
Okay.
So that's the way we approached it. Initially, we tried to get the program to be accepted through partnerships, through the Carrefour Jeunesse d'Emploi. There were issues on that one. Take it over. We'll do it on our own. But what we found is that this is actually the right way of doing it because it actually creates a crucible for our organization where we've hired all this staff. Now we're training these people on a corporate level and they're going back out into the community with skill sets that they didn't have before or didn't have the potential to. So that's where we see a lot of success initially. Secondly, we did a soft launch in all this and we can see the demand is there, the need. We are, in 3 months, we've had 138 people already signed up as clients.
Okay.
So we know there's a demand.
Right.
So it really does have an impactful opportunity for the community. Getting $6.8 million over 5 years.
Okay, over 5 years.
Which is about 1.6 a
right.
year.
Yeah.
So all of that is going directly into services.
Right.
Directly into to resources for those services. So, our people are getting trained. We're training all these potential people on how to take care of their interview skills, how to manage their CVs, how to manage their LinkedIn. These are just small things, but it's the wraparound service that Townshippers already had.
Right.
So when somebody comes in, it's not necessarily they're just looking for their CV. The fridge might be in, the rent might be due.
Right.
So they're coming to us and not desperate, but in a situation where it's risky and creates tension.
Yeah.
So with our adjacent services like health and social services, we're able to answer those questions as well. So it becomes a more complete process on how to help our community become more vital in the Estrie.
Now, this seems like a very big program with a lot of money. Do you have to meet some kind of benchmarks to continue after the 5 years?
This is the interesting part. It is one of the only programs since I've been here where we're seeing actual KPIs, and we've committed to a KPI.
Okay.
So we're sitting there going, we are going to service 1,500 people over the 5 years.
Yeah.
And our numbers are, when we extrapolate them, we're going to exceed that. Those measures are taken every month.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that's an excellent opportunity for us to measure our success.
Right.
So now I can actually go to the community and say to them, well, we service so many people.
Yeah.
By extrapolation, we can see that we're on track, on target.
Right.
So for us, it's extremely important, and it's a very positive thing for us.
Some people might say there's a limited piece of the pie. You're getting a giant piece of it. Other organizations maybe are being left in the lurch that already exist. I mean, what would you say about that?
We're working in complement with everyone.
Okay.
So we understand that position.
Yeah.
And what we're saying is that we're not trying to take over.
Right.
In fact, we work with partnerships. We work with Les Rayons. We work with Phelps Helps. We work with Orientation Travail and Below. So we are working together on a complementary basis.
Yeah.
Even the substructures that we're responsible for, things like labor market studies. We're even doing that with a new advisory group in terms of making sure that we're not repeating some sort of report that already exists, but creating something that's pertinent to us as a community, but more pertinent towards the Eastern Townships as a whole, that everybody can use, and we already have that.
Okay.
So that's the way we're approaching things.
Right.
We certainly do not want to step on anybody's toes.
Right.
And we are trying very, very hard not to.
Yeah.
So we are all inclusive from that perspective.
Townshippers says early demand for the guide program is already strong, with more than 100 people signing up during a soft launch period. The organization is committed to serving 1,800 people over the next 5 years, with monthly tracking to measure results. The program is funded through the Government of Canada's Enabling Fund for Official Language Minority Communities and aims to connect English-speaking residents with meaningful employment while supporting regional economic growth. More information is available at guidejob.ca. For CJMQ 88.9 FM, I'm William Crooks, and this report was produced with the support of the Local Journalism Initiative. This is the Pulse of the Eastern Townships broadcast, and I am William Crooks. Today on the show, we're heading to Bromont, back to what was once known as West Shefford, where a long-buried piece of Eastern Townships history is being brought back to life. For the past several years, local researcher David Thériault and his colleague Rock have been quietly digging, both in archives and in the ground, to pinpoint the exact location of Captain John Savage's original home. Savage, one of the township's founding pioneers, helped shape the early Loyalist settlement of the region more than 2 centuries ago. Now, after years of volunteer research, municipal negotiations, and careful documentation, their efforts have helped secure provincial funding for an official archaeological assessment, and plans are underway to publicly unveil the site in 2026, marking the 200th anniversary of Savage's death. This is a story about persistence, community heritage, and what can happen when ordinary citizens decide that local history is worth protecting. Here's the full story. Please introduce yourself, Mr. Thériault.
My background is that I love history, always have, but I never really made it a job because, I'm nearing 50 years of age now. And back in the day, you told your father or anybody that you wanted to, I love geography as well, so I wanted to do geography later or be a historian or something. It's like, no, you're not going to be anybody with that. Just go to more job opportunities, and you can't go to the or university in those domains. It's not worth it, apparently. So I never really got into it professionally, but it always remained a hobby kind of thing. And now, today, with the internet and all the documents we have access to online, it's become pretty easy to get information and stuff. But you still have to have some kind of a detective mind because you have to make, you have to have assumptions and then go out and verify them. And we do some of these theories that we have to go out on the field. We call it on the field. And so we go and check things out. If we, for example, we're looking for an old building or its foundation, it's gone, it's been long gone, because we go back out and we kind of look at the landscape, we got to pick up the information and verify stuff. Like, we just love doing that. It's a detective work, we love doing it. So the background is that, although it's not a professional thing, we probably spend, or probably not even more time than our real job doing this stuff on a passionate hobby level. Yeah, it turned into something pretty big because we, spend so much time doing that, you do uncover stuff that I've never really been heard of. And all this to say that I'm the kind of guy that likes to spend time in cemeteries, go and reflect, because it's a really nice place to find peace. It's kind of morbid in a way, but the cemeteries are places that are, calm, and you're surrounded with peace, and you can just reflect easier. And most of the time they're really out in the countryside, so old family cemeteries, try to find old ones that are not known about anymore and stuff like that. I just like to go drive around. And when I couldn't go out in the countryside, whatever, Bro, or, the further away parts of where I live, I would just find myself going downtown here in Bromont at the St. John's Cemetery. And I would just spend some time there and walk around. And one day I was walking around, and as usual, I was just picking up branches and just cleaning up the place, because it is mowed professionally by someone. Like, there's a contract given out every year, but that's about it. Nobody really takes care of the ground anymore. I put headstones back up and just clean some stuff up right there, just because you're there. Why not? Make things look nice. And I was standing in front of a plaque, which is in the cemetery there, just underneath where it says St. John's Cemetery, the big metal sign. And the plaque is dedicated to the pioneers of West Shefford, and also prominently to Captain Savage, who founded the place, and his wife Anne. And it also goes on saying that in this place they built the first Anglican church in 1822. And we had written, it's like the church was built right here underneath this plaque. And I was looking at that, and I was thinking, well, no, that just really, it doesn't make sense. This is not where you would build a church, right? So I decided, on a kind of a personal quest, that I would find out where that church was. I would tell people that it's not here, it's right here. It's like a challenge, but a fun one. So that was in 2022, and I just started looking for old maps and anything that could, give me hints as to where exactly the church was. But obviously, that was also the beginning point of realizing that whatever has to do with West Shefford history, almost, when I say West Shefford, of course, it's all the time, right?
Yeah.
I always use West Shefford because we're always in the distant past when it was still called West Shefford. So there's so little information that made it to our times about the beginnings of West Shefford. It's almost as if it was erased. And part of it was, I won't get into that because it's political stuff, and I don't want to get into that. It's not our goal, but it makes it even more a challenge to bring back the history of the beginnings of West Shefford and Shefford all together, because they're both linked. West Shefford was the first village where John Savage, who founded the Township of Shefford, this is where they started it. So the oldest village, and but there's just nothing left. So it's been a very, very, very painstaking job, but very fun. And so I did find a couple of clues and took it from there. I started writing chronicles about it. But of course, when you're looking around for clues or something specific, you do stumble upon other bits of information about other, let's say, buildings or sites or pioneers that were linked to this church, and then you go off in that direction a little bit if you want to learn more about that, and that takes you off to another freaking direction, and so you gather so much information, and you get interested in so many different buildings and places and people that it becomes a monster. And so we just, every bit of information we would find, we put together in files in our computers and everything. And during one of my posts one guy came up to me and said, "Oh, that's pretty cool what you're doing, about the church and trying to find out all about the beginnings of West Shefford and all that." And I myself am a direct descendant of Captain John Savage, and I'm really interested in history as well. And I've been looking for where his house was and all this. And immediately thought that was really cool. So we decided to meet at the cemetery. I told him all this evolved eventually, and we did find really nice artifacts. But nobody left a single stone because the church was not properly demolished. It was really taken down. And this is what our research can tell us. It's back in the day, there was not a lot of money available, as you know, the late 1800s. If it was demolished or taken down in 1881, as they were starting to build the new one, which is still standing today, which is the cultural center here, St. John's Anglican Church, but it's the cultural center. And we think they reused almost all the ones for the foundations for the new one. Because why not? Anyways, right? I mean, you've got the material there, and you're building the new one 500 feet from there. Why would you go 20 kilometers to a quarry and try to find yourself some new stone when you got some there, right? So there's not much left, but there is debris left. So we have plaster from inside the walls. They would plaster the walls, and you can see the trowel marks on the plaster, the bits, and there's just a lot of good stuff. I'm sorry, it's stopped 3 years later when I give interviews, like, so much information we've gathered, it's hard to put it together. But the background is looking for the church, posting about it. My now friend Rock, who is my research colleague as well, got into this, being a descendant of John, and we got into look for the house where John's house was, and we found the foundations. We were very lucky that nothing was built on that site yet, because it's probably one of the last pieces of land available here. And but it is privately owned, so there were all kinds of we wanted to do it the proper way. So we started out with the MRC because our goal was to that piece of land at all costs, because we knew the foundations were still underneath. Because one day in March 2023, when I was walking there, I would just walk around. Like I said, I'd go out and survey land all the time, looking for clues. There was a piece of the land that had kind of caved in, because when they demolished the house in the late 1980s, there was a basement back then, because they would dig later. They would dig further as time went by, because the original houses in 1795 would not have a proper basement, right?
Right.
They had like maybe a little cellar where they could put stuff, gosh, I'm trying to speak English and I'm thinking in French at the same time, but they would put their vegetables and all that. Oh, but eventually the house withstood the test of time, and people lived in it throughout time, and you would dig deeper and have a proper basement, because that came into fashion in the early 1900s and whatsoever. So when they demolished it, they would fill the land back in, obviously, and you would have to fill the basement, and you didn't compact the earth, right, when you pushed it back in there. So through time, it would cave in slowly. So eventually it caved in one area, and you could see a bit of the stone wall in that caved in area. That's my proof right there. So took some pictures, dug a little bit around just to make sure, and we knew we had the right site. That combined with tons of notary that we browsed through, over 50,000 pages of notary acts that are available online on the DANQ site. Great place to source on information. And we spent all winter looking at there's no index, so you have to go one by one looking for names that are linked to West Shefford. So you're looking for Savage, you're looking for Hayes, you're looking for Lawrence and all this stuff. And when you come upon Savage, you start, reading through the whole notaried act, and it's not always really well written. So it's 4 or 5 acts that we found helped us place the house exactly there. And so doing that, we were going against renowned historians that wrote a book on the celebrating 30 or 40 years of Bromont, 30 years of Bromont in the mid-90s. And they came out with a book, and they placed the location of John Savage's house is across the road diagonally from where we were staying. But what they said just did not make sense. They didn't, this is the thing. Proper historians, we're specialists of West Shefford. Proper historians are mandated to go to a certain place and, hey, could you write something about us for 30 years? Oh, yeah. So they come in, they'll use the old stories that are known about, they'll look through stuff really quickly, but they don't go as deep as we have 3 years. I mean, all we've done is West Shefford for the past 3 years. So we come up with a bunch of stuff they never came up with. And so we're contradicting them. But we were backed up. We had to be backed up because we were bringing all this information to the city and to the Bromont municipality all the time because we're trying to protect the land. Remember, this is the main goal. When we were sure about our stuff, we were trying to protect the land. But I mean, we're sure about it, but they're just looking at two crazy citizens that are history buffs, but they're not professionals, and so they're kind of weary of what we're, of course, presenting all the time because, yeah, you guys are doing good work, but do you know what the hell you're doing? Because I don't have, again, paper on my wall. It was a constant battle. It still is, but now we've grown to have, I'm going to have to say, a reputation kind of being pretty tedious, and we had to, at one point last year, to go even further with this because we just kept being like a needle in your foot or throwing stuff in your side to these people. We always come back because we want to protect that freaking land, make those foundations available to the public and tell people, because we still can't tell people where it is. We've been hinting 2 years now, but we can't because there's a lot of legal stuff behind this. Again, the land is privately owned. We met the owners last year. We talked to them and they were really, really passionate about it. It was really cool. It was fun. They were interested. They allowed us, written on a written paper, to dig rock, and I said we need to dig down because we need to confirm that this wall has about 5 feet in depth and at least 3 feet in thickness, because this is what you're expecting from a house built in the late 1700s.
Right.
You're not expecting 8 feet of foundation. You're expecting about 5. They knew where the frost level was just about, and this is what you're expecting. So they gave us full approval, and they just said, yeah, dig, we'll do whatever you want to do. See what it's like ourselves, right? And it's so long to get proper archaeologists to come here, and you need so much paperwork done, and you need funds and all that. So they said, go ahead, do it. So we took our shovels, and we were there last summer, late summer, and we dug, and sure enough, 5 feet, exactly 5 feet underneath the ground, that's where the foundation, the big stone foundation, the fieldstone foundations stopped. And like I said, I kept going all the way down to 9 feet because I wanted to confirm that they did dig deeper and have a proper basement or a more modern basement put in. And then, indeed, after the 5 feet, you start seeing proper concrete that was poured, going thicker and thicker because it would have been sand underneath the stone walls.
Right.
To hold up the sand, right? And so they've had concrete from the rocks all the way down to about 8 feet, and there's a slab at the bottom there. So that was all confirmed. And I mean, I'm sorry, Mr. Crooks, it's tough because I don't have material to show you at the same time, but we have pictures of this, we have maps, we have our calculations. You don't know how much time I spent doing, what is trigonometry in English, where you take...
Trigonometry.
Yeah, where you take a couple of known land, or a couple of known...
Yeah, landmarks and
landmarks, exactly.
Yeah,
that are still existing today, based on what they were like 200 years ago, where they were standing, and then you use that to, trigonometry and figure out exact spots. And
sure,
everything has been proven, and there's just a lot to show. Obviously, we came upon a few artifacts throughout the whole process, and I have those here as well. And so the main goal has been to protect that site. And now the post that you saw a couple of days ago, I think, is something they brought up at the council meeting here on February 2nd, because we asked to be notified of everything, and we've asked to be in every single meeting that they have. They don't have that much. We have to come back all the time because obviously we're not the only project that they have to deal with. I mean, we're not exclusive, but this is a big thing. So, but they don't always get back to us. So I always have to go back and ask, so what's going on? Is anything, moving forward? I mean, it's not as if we've split the atom or anything. But it's not like necessarily a bombshell. But for English heritage and English history here, it's very important to those people. Mostly, down your way in Lennoxville and Bromont. There's a lot of English Loyalist descendants, and so in the past few months I've shifted because I did everything in French mostly, not wanting to disrespect anybody, but I mean it's already a huge job doing it in one language. Going back, translating everything and starting everything you've done in your videos and everything again in another language, I don't have the time for that. So I tried to translate some stuff, and I do expect, English people to kind of understand French when they've been here for 70 years, and vice versa. I mean, nobody who speaks French does not understand English to a certain extent. I mean, English is a natural language, right? So recently I've done my chronicles in English. Of course, French people, why is it not in French? I said, look, I mean, just figure it out. I mean, what can I do? I can't translate everything all the time.
Right.
And our videos are now going to be on YouTube. Our first one is on YouTube. You can activate subtitles. And you do your best to accommodate everybody. But the history of this is more linked to English-speaking people, whether we like it or not. I expect we have big ceremonies coming up next September here, linked with the city's cultural days of culture, they call it here. Going to be kind of like the main stage. And it's all good because all this information we've come up with in our research, we want to present to people the artifacts. We want to unveil the site. The foundations. I want to unveil the exact place where the church was. There's a couple of things linked to that. I'll tell you about it after. Because everything fits, because this year, in September, I mean, it fits to the day. The culture days this year are, I think, the 25th, 26th, and 27th. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday in September. And John Savage, captain, which is the main guy in this research, the main subject, he died exactly 200 years ago in 1826 on September 27th. So to the day, we're going to celebrate the 200th anniversary of his passing by unveiling all this good stuff that he left for us. I mean, we have the only known picture of the house, which dates from 1921, and nobody knew it was actually John Savage's house, because in the book that they made about this in the early 1900s, they say that it's the house of the namesake of Captain Savage's namesake, his cousin or whatever, Edward Savage, but it's wrong. Some people used to say it was the house. Some people, based on what was officially written, think it's his cousin's house, but it was his house here in Shefford. And we proved it with old pictures that this picture dates from about 1920, because they had, or 1921, because they had celebrations here for the 100th year of the church, which was built in 1821. This name is probably familiar to you, being in Lennoxville. So Vaudry, you know this name?
Yes, sure. We have a street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Vaudry Street, and there used to be the florist. So was I. I grew up in Lennoxville, like I said. I was
Okay.
from the age of 6 all the way to when I left home. And like I said, my dad passed away last summer, but he still lived in our childhood house in Lennoxville.
Yeah.
We were there for about 45 years. So still have ties to Lennoxville, of course. So Vaudry Street is for the Vaudry family, of course, which were Lennoxville in the late 1800s. And one of these was Marie-Odile Vaudry, daughter of one of the original Vaudrys in Lennoxville. And the Vaudrys are all direct descendants of Captain Savage as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. And she was very interested in Mary Olive. She was very interested in the history. And she's the one who left us the most information about John Savage. And at the archives in, is it McGreer Hall or whatever, in Bishop's University?
Yeah, that's probably, yeah.
Yeah, and so they keep archives there. The Eastern Township archives are there. And we were there last year, and they have on John Savage Fund, where they have all the what's left of Marie-Olive's stuff that she put together. She wrote a couple books. One of them is called A Sketch of the Life of Captain John Savage. And in that fund, there are over 1,000 pieces of paper written by his own hand. So accounts of what was owed to him, accounts of what he owed people, all kinds of stuff that was kept. One of his little books is kept in there, his handbooks where he would take notes, and everything's there. But to have access to this fund, it's one of the rare funds that has this. It has kind of like a double safety. You need to call there and book an appointment, of course, so they take out everything and they lay it on a table for you while they wait for you to get there. And we also need approval from Janet Vaudy, who is the granddaughter of Marie Vaudy. And so you have to go through 2 stages of approval to have access to this fund. And when she heard about what we were doing, obviously, she wanted us to solve the funds right off the bat. And she even came down to meet with us when we were there the day we went down in March last year to consult or to look at the funds and all the pieces of paper. And she gave us full approval to take every picture we wanted. So we took a picture of every one of the 1,000 pieces of paper, one by one, about 500 on my side, 500 on Rock's side, so we could analyze them later, because you can't go through all that in one day. I mean, there's no way you can read all that. It's all kinds of really quickly handwritten notes and numbers, and you got to get a feel for it. And some of his partners also wrote some of those notes. Some of them date back to when he was held prisoner in the 1770s during the war in the States. Not many people know this, but he actually infiltrated the lines of George Washington's army. So so there's a lot to tell about this guy.
Yeah.
John Savage. It's a mythical character. He's kind of legendary in a sense. So when you start digging, you realize that this guy, probably saw Captain or George Washington, and I mean, it's like crazy stuff. So all this information we put together, that we gathered, there was just so much that we decided we had to rewrite the story of Captain Savage, because there's always the same 3 or 4 little different stories that are told about him. So he was captured so many times and managed to escape prison. He was also almost hung one time. He was on the gallows. He had the rope around his neck, and he was so witty that he made this witty comment and made the guys that were about to execute him laugh. So they decided to let him off. But there's more to the guy than just these stories, though. With everything that we picked up, we were also able to tell where he used to be just before he came here in West Shefford, to start taking down the forest and his pioneer stuff. It was all wrong, and we put everything straight. So Rock took it upon himself to write a book, and he just finished writing the book a couple of weeks ago. Took him over a year. So the manuscript is done. I've read it. And we are backed up by a very renowned historian here. Maybe you've heard of him. He gives a lot of conferences in Bahal, Knowlton here. He's called Jimmy Manson. Yeah, anyways, he's a renowned historian here. He still works at McGill and Montreal. He's a professor there. And he did his thesis back in the day on John Savage. So everything fit perfectly. So this is the guy we needed to back up our stories. And we actually taught him some stuff about the whole thing. So he completely gave the seal of approval to us. And so this is when the city started listening to us even more. This was about a year ago. And he's backing us up. And everything's moving forward. So the big project is actually called in English it would be something like the original heart of the original pioneer village of West Shefford.
Okay.
So our main goal has always been to go back as far as we can to give back what the very beginnings were like. So based on everything we've uncovered, we're going to have the site of his house. We have the site of the first church. We have the site we found last year, finally, bits of the dam of the first mill that was built here at downtown Bromont. So I found a log that's been obviously cut that is now underwater in the river, where we have one picture from the 1900s where you can still see part of the dam standing. And it's exactly where I found the log. The spring found a log that has an X carved into it, kind of like a marker.
Yeah.
Say, hey, this is an important one. So you can see the X, which is marked in it. I do have a picture of that if you want to see it. And in this log, there's a part where you could tell that it looked like a knot, but I wasn't really convinced of that because it was kind of chiseled out, a round kind of area that was chiseled out, and there was like a knot in there. But I reached in and I pulled it out, and it was It's the end of a stake that was driven through many logs, and that was the end point of it. That was the pointy part of the stake that was driven through logs to hold everything together. And I have that. It's like kind of like a little dowel, if you want. And I have that piece here in my artifacts in my glass presentation thing here. Piece of furniture,
Sure.
is all lit up. So there's just a lot of stuff, and so we want to have a new historical trail where we can go around telling people about this place here is where if you see here the foundations of the house of the guy who founded everything here, and then across the street we're gonna have the church, and then across down there by the river is where the mill stood, and we want to have signs put up that describe this, because there's already signs all over the village here in front of different houses which talks about the history of how kind of stuff that's pretty much everywhere now.
Sure.
But we want to have like the negative part, not negative as in positive and negative, but like for a picture. So we want to reverse the colors of the signs that are already there and have signs put up on places which are now lost to sight. You can't see anything,
Sure.
but it's a historical site. So it's the negative pendant of the actual standing structures that are still there. You can also stand on historical sites knowing what's under your feet and have a special feeling as well.
Sure.
And when you have artifacts coming from the ground to present as well. So we want to have signs put up there and be a part of the new path that we want to have there. And at first, the first year, I think we're going to inaugurate it on the 26th, 7th, of September among the festivities that we want to have held here. And many descendants of Captain Savage have mentioned that they want to come and assist in this and see what the festivities are going to be all about. There's a lot of hype, and again, like I said, probably 80% of it is going to be English-speaking Loyalist pioneers, descendants, and so there's just a lot.
That was the story of a rediscovered pioneer village and the volunteers working to ensure that the foundations of West Shefford's earliest days aren't lost again. The full written article can be found on pulsetownships.com. As always, if you enjoy these local heritage features, which now make up a growing part of what we do here, consider sharing this episode or subscribing to the podcast. It helps more people discover the stories that shape our region. Thanks for listening, and always remember, keep that finger on the pulse. That was a look at two very different but deeply connected stories from the Eastern Townships. A new employment initiative investing $6.8 million to strengthen opportunity in regional economic development, and a grassroots heritage effort ensuring that one of the township's earliest pioneer sites is properly recognized and preserved. One story looks ahead to the next 5 years. The other reaches back more than 2 centuries. Both reflect the same idea, that strong communities are built with intention. You can find more details on both stories at pulsetownships.com. I'm William Crooks. This is the Pulse of the Eastern Townships broadcast, and always remember, keep that finger on the pulse.
The Pulse. The Pulse. Townships interviews. Don't forget breaking news. The Pulse. The Pulse. The Pulse broadcast just for you. Are you heading out for a cruise or lying there for a snooze? The Pulse. The Pulse. The Pulse broadcast just for you. Guy, hey, I know that gal too. The Pulse, the Pulse, the Pulse broadcast just for you. The townships are the muse. Make sure to choose the Pulse, the Pulse, the Pulse, the Pulse.